A close-in Boston suburb that is valued for its high quality of life, Newton owes its reputation in part to the way that it has grown. Thanks to its pre-war traffic patterns, Newton is made up of hundreds of tree-lined streets of single-family homes, mostly located within easy access of a rich collection of mixed-use village centers. These places, like Newton Center and Newtonville, demonstrate how it is possible to provide commercial activities cheek to cheek with residential neighborhoods in a way that makes both more valuable. Newton is a place where more people want to live and would also want to work, given the opportunity. But as in most American communities, further growth is regarded with great concern, due in part to the traffic that it may bring. For this reason, the City of Newton has embraced an approach of locating new growth in compact, mixed-use developments in highly walkable and transit-served locations, as well as investing in transportation infrastructure that encourages walking and biking as an attractive alternative to car use. Surveying the entirety of Newton, it is clear that only one major anomaly scars the landscape, that being the east-west corridor of the wide, high-speed Mass Turnpike, which sets apart roughly the northernmost fifth of the city from the rest. To its south, this scar is largely hidden. To its north, however, it is paralleled by Washington Street, a significant corridor in its own right, which, for most of its length, exposes the turnpike to view. Due in part to this highway location, the Washington Street corridor is the part of Newton that feels most in need of improvement, and the place where growth can be expected to have the most positive impact on surrounding properties. In fact, it is a place where a new edge of moderate density buildings might be appreciated for providing the neighborhoods beyond with a physical buffer against the speed and noise of the highway. How convenient, then, that this corridor is also the place in Newton with the greatest potential for improved alternative transportation, be it by bus, rail, or bike. The MBTA 553, 554, and 556 buses currently run through this corridor. The trench of the turnpike holds commuter rail service to Boston, with stops at Newtonville and West Newton Square, and plans under discussion for improvements in service. And Washington Street is currently designated as a major east-west bicycle route through Newton, with designs for major bike facilities anticipated. It is clear that new development along Washington Street has a great potential for reducing dependency on the automobile. Finally, great opportunity exists in the design of Washington Street itself. Despite being next to a highway, this street has been built according to the criteria of a highway, with 4 wide lanes inviting high speeds. While the standard width of a driving lane used to be 10 feet, and now is again, the lanes in many areas along Washington Street are 12 feet wide or more, wider than the lanes of the turnpike next door. These wide lanes effectively tell drivers to speed. Moreover, the 4-lane configuration is inherently dangerous, as the passing lanes are also the left turn lanes, inviting conflict. Its lack of designated turn lanes is one reason why Washington Street exhibits the highest crash rates in Newton. Public safety alone is ample justification for redesigning this street. Happily, the solution to speeding and crashes on Washington Street is also the solution to the demand for bike lanes. It's called the Classic American Road Diet, and it's been applied all over North America with consistently positive results. In a Classic American Road Diet, a 4-lane street is converted to a 3-lane street with a center lane for all left turns. This reduction in driving lanes provides ample roadway for the insertion of bike lanes in both directions. Ideally, the bike lanes, rather than being exposed to traffic, are shifted to one side where they are protected by a line of parked cars. In addition, where few left turns occur, the center lane can become a green median with trees. And budget permitting, the parking buffer, which protects the bikes from car doors, can receive a raised curb with greenery as well. With their reduction of speeding and conflicts, it's no surprise that road diets save lives. What many do find surprising, however, is how they do not reduce road capacity. 4-lane streets, in addition to being dangerous, are also tremendously inefficient. For that reason, a study of 23 unique 4-to-3-lane road diets across North America found an average net gain in capacity, not a reduction. Worth noting is that all of these 23 streets carry many more cars per day than are currently present on Washington Street. Applying a Classic American Road Diet to Washington Street will vastly improve its safety and comfort, allow the creation of a high-quality cycling corridor, and spur redevelopment of the properties along it. The fly-through that follows shows a proposed redesign of the street, along with a suggestion of the sort of walkable, mixed-use, moderate-density growth that this redesign could engender. It begins west of West Newton Square, where Washington Street is currently a 3-lane one-way, inviting speeding. In accordance with national best practices, reverting this street back to two-way traffic will reduce speeding and improve revenues to on-street businesses. At Elm Street, the current intersection was designed by the state DOT with highway-style slip lanes, which makes crossing a challenge. Eventually, reconfiguring this raceway to a normal urban intersection will allow people to walk comfortably to and from the West Newton train stop. This process has already begun. Working with a now more progressive Mass DOT, the city is modifying West Newton Square to include wider sidewalks and protected bike lanes. These images show a future phase of construction beyond current plans, in which a 4 to 3 lane road diet allows an even more welcoming public realm. In places where no left turns are needed, the center lane can become a median with trees. For this final phase of construction, the most dramatic change is the reconfiguration of the fork at Watertown Street into a T intersection. This change would improve safety while creating a large sidewalk plaza in front of the stores at Wright. Moving eastward, we can imagine one-story buildings, light industrial sites, parking lots, and other underutilized parcels receiving larger mixed-use buildings, increasing the critical mass of West Newton Square, and extending its vitality all the way to Trader Joe's, beyond which a residential neighborhood begins. Throughout this corridor, the protected bike lanes are consolidated on the south side of the street, for good reason. While 15 streets intersect with Washington Street from the north, between West Newton Square and Newton Corner, only 3 streets enter from the south, thanks to the presence of the train tracks and highway. This means that cyclists on the south side of Washington Street will have the luxury of crossing only 3 intersections between Chestnut Street and Craft Street, a stretch of almost 1.5 miles. East of Parsons Street, a curve in Washington Street provides a unique opportunity to create a special place halfway between West Newton Square and Newtonville. Moving the unused open space against the train tracks across Washington Street creates a lovely site for a small public park, a great amenity for the 4 residential blocks to its north, and a new destination along this corridor. Moving across Lowell Avenue and towards Star Market, we can see how a dieted Washington Street, shifted north, provides ample room for a new head house to be located right on the sidewalk, so that riders no longer need to walk onto the highway overpass and down foreboding stairs to the train platform. Current plans that imagine frequent rail service along this corridor will make both West Newton Square and Newtonville even more attractive for living and working, but new handicapped accessible stations like these will be an essential part of that future. Just across the street can be seen Washington Place. This collection of buildings, already approved for construction, shows the scale, mix of uses, and character that is imagined for new development near transit. Since transit improvements are tied to ridership, it is buildings like these that should lead to improvements in rail service. Yet further east, traffic on the widest segment of Washington Street is calmed with the addition of more valuable angle parking in front of existing businesses. For the remainder of this corridor, approaching Craft Street and Newton Corner, an even bolder solution is proposed: the creation of a large, mixed-use neighborhood, anticipating the sort of growth that improved rail service and a more attractive streetscape could help create. One could imagine this neighborhood including a significant office component, adding to Newton's commercial tax base. While a safer and more walkable public realm is no guarantee of this sort of growth, it can be said with some confidence that it is a necessary prerequisite. The development of the Washington Street corridor has long been held back by the highway in front of it, not the Mass Pike, but Washington Street itself. Happily, the feature that has made it inhospitable to many, its wide expanse of lanes, has turned out to be a placeholder for a newly envisioned multimodal corridor, one with room for bikes, buses, better train access, and yes, cars as well. Newton's continued success depends on compact mixed-use development and increased walking, biking, and transit riding. With a road diet and future urban rail, Washington Street can become a truly transit-oriented corridor, accommodating Newton's housing and office needs while reducing traffic, and building upon the city's long history of high-quality, walkable villages.